Welcome to I Love My HBCU ? The podcast where we express our undeniable love for HBCUs, but where we are also not afraid to address a few tough questions. So, sit back, learn a little, love a lot, and rep your HBCU. All right, good people, this is yours truly, Tosin Richard. I Love My HBCU ? Is a podcast that you have joined. Listen, we're going to christen it here. I don't think we're getting to christen it first, but I'm choosing to christen it here. Mrs. Samantha Lampkin, previously Thomas, because listen, if you have been to Samantha's IG, which we're going to get into in a hot second, you know how there are brides who are proud? This one is proud, honored to wear that crown. Yes. Samantha, welcome.
Thank you so much, Tosin, for having me. And thank you for that christening of the missus. So I'm very
absolutely. And I don't know if he's here to make an appearance. He doesn't have to be. He is? Okay, so listen.
Maybe
in the end.
I don't know if Luther will come on the camera because he's probably I'm not ready. But Luther, they would like you if you're available.
Absolutely. And the reason why, listen, those joining in are going to be like, Tosin, this is supposed to be about, HBCUs and she's HBCU made. We're going to get into that. What I love about Samantha is if you get Hi, Luther. How are you? That is Mr. Lampkin. Say hello.
Look in the camera, honey. What?
Come on, Mr. Lampkin. You're acting as if you guys don't have a full-fledged relationship show that a good number of us tune into every now and then, and now you want to be shy. No.
Well, only at first.
Only at first? Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, right. See, I'm here, right? Thank you for that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Listen, Tosin, I'm jumping all over the place. I'm excited because I have followed your journey ever so slightly. I saw when you got engaged, and the video of the engagement was just so heartwarming. There's very little that you don't share of yourself in your platform. It's why we've been trying to figure out what your right title is, and I've gone from brand consultant extraordinaire to you're just a powerful personality. How would you describe yourself, Samantha?
I'm a woman of many talents, I should say. But first of all, a diehard, lifelong, born and raised Chicagoan. And I am a journalist by trade. But when I think of my name, my mother always told me when she was carrying me that she wanted to name me Star. And she said my father, whose name is Samuel, you already know, and they were like, well, let's call her Samantha Star. But of course, I was born in the 80s, and everybody in the 80s, their middle name is Marie. So that's where especially Black people, the Marie is my middle name. But my mother, coming out, she said I was here. But by the time for my first birthday, I just knew I was always ahead of my time, even when I didn't really know who I was. I wore training pants to my first birthday, meaning I was potty trained by my first birthday. And from that, they had a little tape recorder. And my grandmother, who passed away in 2021, who's still like my angel, who saw me do everything in life, she would record me. And I would always, I had to remember my address by singing songs. And so they taught me different things at a young age, but my retention was like this. I caught on so fast to everything, meaning, and my father, he's an entertainer. And my mom is just always amazing, just educator by just nature. So everything they taught me, Tosin, I just retained it so fast. I was always a mini celebrity, if you will. We had a play instead of the Three Bears when I was in nursery school. It was the Three Soul Bears. And yes, so they had to give it a little flavor. And I was the lead. I was the Goldilocks, but her character was called Africa. So I had a little, the little version of that. And I don't remember, but my mother said I just walked out there and owned it. So all my life, I have always try to own whatever room I was in, but in a way that still had humbleness with it. Because one thing about I'm a Christian, but one thing about God is if you don't humble yourself, He'll do it for you. So you just got to watch always how you carry yourself. So I always made sure that wherever I was, no matter how small of a space, no matter how big of a space, whatever little section I was in, I don't even call it a little section, but whatever section I was in, I always made sure that I owned it. So I'm going to like probably mute you a little bit because some Chicago sound effects are
Listen, don't mute it. That's Chicago. That's
Chicago
fine.
where we
That's
at.
fine.
But
If listen, I think the only other guest that you'll ever have to compete with is if we were in New York. That's
oh
it.
yeah,
So you're fine.
shout out to my New York and Baltimore friends, as they say, Baltimore. But I have always made sure that I own rooms that I was in. So even after graduating, we call it grammar school, high school, college, going to college, even that journey was just different. I knew that I was always destined for something bigger, but I just every now and again, you know how life does you. It takes you through twists and turns. And you know when you're not doing something that you're passionate about or that is your calling, it don't feel right. So
Absolutely.
yes, I would just really describe myself as someone who takes ownership of where they're at and makes the best of where they are. So becoming a journalist, that was a part of my journey. The awards, yes, that's a part of my journey. Now a wife and hopefully eventually a mother. So just one that owns where she is and takes ownership of where she is and takes accountability for a lot of things too as well. So
Samantha, you described yourself in so vividly that I don't care. So you know how we all listen to things, and I listen to a lot of things in the background. Yours is the voice that when this airs, they're going to hear your voice. They'll be like Tosin doing something in the background, and then they're going to stop and look to see
ah,
who this beautiful person is. There's some stars that are made. You're a star that was born. It sounds as if you were just born to be this person who reflects beauty in others, to be this person who wants everybody else around her to shine because she shines so bright herself. That's what I get even from listening to the way that you just described yourself. Like the minute you said that your mother wanted to name you Star, I was like, that's
yeah,
it. That's it. She
yeah.
knew, your mother knew that that's what this girl of mine is, a
Mm,
star. And you literally are living up to that intended name of yours, whether it's the name that you have on your birth certificate or not. I think that's amazing. I think that's absolutely
I've
amazing.
never told that story, Tosin.
Wow.
I if my shout out to my mother who I told I had something to do and she's calling me. It's like she knows, shout out to moms and parents. But if and when I've told it's not I don't tell it often. So it was
Yeah.
meant for me to tell you that. Yes, but that was supposed to be my name, Samantha Star. And
Star.
yeah.
So Samantha, I am Nigerian born, and I am grateful to my parents for always instilling different parts of our culture in us. And this, my father and my mom, to give my mother credit as well, have always said that in the Yoruba culture, you
Mhm.
need to be very careful with names.
Yes.
Why? It is very likely that the child will live up to that name.
Hmm.
So again, whatever's on your birth certificate, your mother knows that your name was Star, and you've lived up to that. Okay, Samantha, we should talk about everything. We should talk about the fact that you never sleep because
Mm,
you have a couple of titles with Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, International. We should talk about the fact that you are your own brand as an entrepreneur. We should talk about the fact that you are a host
mhm.
of several different types of audiences. Which role? Let's put wife aside for 2 seconds. We can never put that aside. But
Right.
that's the. I think if I asked you which role do you enjoy the most right now, you'd be cheating by telling us wife because we
Yeah.
just saw Mr. Lampkin. That's your favorite role. So
Yeah.
no. So putting Mrs. Lampkin hat aside for just a split second, of all the many hats that you wear, she's gonna say she loves all of them.
Yeah, I would.
She's gonna say she loves all of them. Which one right now is filling you with passion the most?
Oh, being able to finally know who I am, and owning it. There we go with the word owning it again. Yes, I've always knew who Samantha is and was, but I really have taken ownership of who I am, and really knowing, because we have confidence, and I was always taught to have confidence, but confidence and self-worth are two different things. Self-confidence and self-worth. So now, even knowing more of my worth as a person is a role that I'm very comfortable in now, especially the 40s.
Tell me about it.
Maybe it's another level of getting to know you, getting to know all about you. And
Absolutely.
I am really loving that role now, because I mean, everything I do a lot, but at the end of the day, you come home to you.
Yeah, yeah.
And knowing who you are is a role that I'm really, really, really loving and learning to love a lot more. I liked me. I've always liked me,
Yeah.
but I really love me more now.
They say, I've heard it said, and I hope this is true for as many of us as possible, that the older you get, if you're willing to do the work of
Yeah.
self-awareness, you learn to love all of you even more. So it's not about changing parts of you anymore.
Right.
It's about accepting parts of you and loving those parts that others may not necessarily love so much. Is that what I'm hearing is also happening with you? That as we're getting older, you
Mhm.
really are like, look at you, Samantha. You're it. You're it.
Yes. And do. Yes.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I
It's a
love it.
growing process too, Tosin. And it's every day. Every day, I make as you make a choice to get up and love the person that you're with. If you're in a relationship, as you get up every day to go to your career, hopefully you're in a career, not a job. You make a choice every day. So it's a choice every day. Do I wake up all the time? Love? No. But I make the choice every day to find something good that it is that I'm doing, even if it's now. When I work out, I feel good. And
Mm.
it's a lot of me getting back to the place of really not just liking but loving Samantha.
Loving Samantha. So if you can't tell, I can talk about Samantha Lampkin all day long because she is a star and she is energy and she is joy. But I also want to focus on why she's on this podcast in the first
Mhm.
place. The fact that she is HBCU made, Lincoln University, Missouri, and to jump right, even though we've been talking for like a good 10 minutes, to jump right into that part of it, I'm going to bless you with our rapid fire segment. It
Okay.
is 67 seconds are going to go on the clock. I'm going to ask you as many questions as possible. I look forward to your answers. I look forward to your answers. Yeah, let's do
Okay.
this. Okay. Time's on the clock. Samantha, if your ooh, Samantha, if
Mhm.
your time in college was a song, what song would it be?
Something about forgive me, something about Lil Jon.
Okay, I'll take it. I'll take it. Yes, I'll take it. My excitement when I saw Lil Jon come out
Yeah.
as Usher at the listen.
When
Okay,
you back
okay,
to college.
Tosin, don't eat up her time. Don't eat up her
Okay,
time.
okay, okay.
Um, what would you have wanted to tell your college roommate but didn't?
Girl, stop hogging the TV.
Stop hogging
We
the
only got
TV.
one
That's a good
13
one.
inch. We got one 13 inch in here.
Not 13, not 13. Describe your HBCU experience in one word.
Fulfilling.
Fulfilling, fulfilling. Shout out your favorite professor and what did they teach?
Oh, Dr. Govain, he was one of my journalism professors. He was actually the dean of the journalism department. But he really, I'm not going to cry, but he really made sure that, man, just a good man who made sure that I was going to do good in my career. Because at my school, journalism wasn't big,
Mm,
but I knew what I wanted to do. And he told me, he just instilled in me that I could do it to this day. But Lincoln, especially a lot of HBCUs, they don't specialize in journalism and TV. Not all of them, some do. But my school particularly didn't. But he knew that that was in me, and he really fostered drive of a young journalist named Samantha Thomas at the time.
I love the way you had an emotive reaction
Yeah.
to remembering the impact that he had on you. That's very special. And I bet there are others who have that exact same reaction when they think about the paths and the steps that you've taken in their lives. So I think that's beautiful. They've told me the time's up, but I always take the liberty
Oh,
to ask another. Listen, I take the liberty to ask one more question. So I think it's a 10. On a scale of 1 through 10, how good of a student were you?
like a 8.5.
See, I gave her a 10, but
Maybe a
she's
9
being
on occasion.
honest.
On occasion, a 9.
She's
Because,
being honest.
yeah,
I
I
love
showed
it.
up to class.
Oh my gosh, I can't with you. Oh my gosh. Samantha, you are a proud Chicagoan, but you ended up at Lincoln University, Missouri.
Mhm.
Take us through that journey. How did you select Lincoln University, Missouri to be the HBCU that you matriculated through?
Lincoln University, Missouri it was not on my radar. When I graduated high school, and like I said, I don't mind telling my age, I graduated in 98. And I remember right after I graduated, because my mom had paid for my high school education, I went to public grade school, grammar school, we call it in Chicago, and Catholic high school. So it was paid for. I knew I wanted to go to an HBCU, Tosin, because I grew up in the era of, I'm a big movie person. I love all things, of course, TV and media. So school days was real popular when I was a little girl. And of course, they had a different world. Eventually, that came and we started getting a little bit older. But on school days, I'm like, this is what they do? This is what they do. I want to go to Mission College, which was the name of the college in the movie, and I want to be a gamma ray. So I always said, you know, I'm going to go to college. Admission was not a real school, but I knew I wanted to go. And I remember saying that years ago to a friend of my mother's, and he said, well, that's not a real school. I said, well, I'm going to go to a real school for Black people, HBCU.
Mm,
And I knew that. So when I graduated, because I didn't want to put the burden on my mom for a financial burden, I enlisted in the Air Force. So that's another story a lot of people don't know. So I enlisted in the Air Force and got all the way, did the whole thing, went to MEPS. I was enlisted in the Air Force. And before it was time for me to go, Tosin, they did a weigh-in. I did not want to go to the Air Force for real. I just wanted to do it, for financial reasons, and because I knew it could later on down the line possibly provide some stability and security. They told me that I weighed in 5 pounds overweight. I did not lose that weight. I did not want 5 pounds. I'm like, I could have probably ran up the street and lost it, but I ended up getting an honorable discharge from the military. And I remember working a job, and it was I was a purchasing agent for a plastic manufacturing company in a suburb here in Chicago. And I remember going to church one Sunday, and a friend of mine, she was in Ebony magazine. I never forget. She went to church with me, and she was Miss Lincoln. And I remember, it had the Black college queens in there.
yes.
I remember looking and it had her name. She's probably going to get me. She going to see it. But she says, you always tell this story. I do, because it's true. Danielle Brasfield at the time, and she was Miss Lincoln, and it said she's a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated and all this kind of stuff. And I said, And I remember looking at that. And she came to church and she stopped me. And she said, Samantha, what are you doing? And at the time I was in a relationship. I was like, well, I'm working. And she looked, she said, why don't you go to school? I said, well, what school? What school is it, Danielle? She said, Lincoln University of Missouri. I said, well, just give me the application. I said, that's where you go, right? And she said, yes. And she had her AK pen. Lo and behold, if I knew then what I know now, Tosin, I touched the pen. I said, oh, I want that. She said, well, you can't touch the pen. I said, yes, the AK pen. I said, I want all of this. And she
Yeah.
said, I'll send you the application. About a week and a half later, I submitted my application that week, but about a week and a half later, I got let go from my job. This was spring of 2000, going into fall of 2000. I got accepted to Lincoln. And
Wow.
I remember I had a Geo Metro at the time. And my mother, brother, and sister, we got in that little bitty car, packed up. This is when you don't know that it's a Target in Walmart and in other cities. You just so used, how you used to where you live. So we packed up the car, Girl, too much. We could have just got gift cards, trunks and everything in there, comforter sets. We drove a trip that should have took us 6 hours. Wound up taking us like 9. This before Siri. This is MapQuest. MapQuest on papers. So we got lost going from St. Louis to Jefferson City, which is in the middle of Kansas City
Okay.
in St. Louis. So it's in the middle. And when we finally got there, I'll never forget, I was scared to get out of the car. And I never forget that day. My mother, Chicago. My mother said, "It's letting you know." She said to me, "I said, Mom, I'm scared." She said, "Girl, if you don't get out of this car," I said, "Okay, we are here. I've driven. You get out this car." And I remember looking at all these buildings and people. We stopped in front of the Student Union Center, and being at Lincoln, I just remember being so scared to get out the car and like, what is this going to be? Like my mother literally, she didn't kick me out, but they drove back back to Chicago that day and left. I didn't have my car, so they took the car, but my roommate wound up having the car. And I remember being so scared, Tosin, of that school and wound up becoming what Miss Lincoln and AK, if you will, subsequently. So that's how I got to Lincoln, and I just never forget that fall 2000 when I stepped on that campus. I was 2 years older, out of high school for 2 years, but I think I came just at the right time, mentality wise. You young.
This is becoming I love honestly, I love every single guest that comes on this podcast, but the story of how you selected your HBCU is becoming one of my favorite stories. Because everybody's story is so different, and I'm hoping that it encourages students who maybe weren't ready to go to college when they
Right.
graduated from high school, students who maybe didn't get their first choice of where
Mm-hmm.
they wanted to go to. I'm hoping they listen to your story and hear that, guys, whenever it happens
It
was
happened.
the right time for it to happen. And even though you may not see that in the moment, when you look back, you're going to realize it should not have happened any other way. It had to actually happen that exact way for whatever reason that we may never know, but it
Mm-hmm.
had to happen that way. Because I love the fact that you were forced to take a gap year or a couple
Yes.
of gap years without even knowing that you were taking a gap year. Now, when I travel, I'm lucky enough to be in the midst of so many different HBCUs and so many different HBCU students. And I
Mhm.
must be honest, I don't run into too many Lincoln University, Missouri students or even faculty because you're a bit more removed
Right.
geographically from the rest of the HBCUs. Can you share for those of us who don't know what it's like to be at Lincoln University, Missouri? What are the favorite moments you had? Of course, you were Miss. You were the queen of the campus.
Yes.
You went through your sorority pledge process on that campus. But beyond those two things, what were your favorite things about being at Lincoln University, Missouri?
Before we get there, I just want to make sure. Shout out to my undergraduate chapter at Lincoln University, but they were in a little bit of trouble while we were
Ooh,
there. So
ooh,
yeah,
ooh.
well, yes, yeah. So immediately after graduating, the local graduate chapter scooped me up because they were not going to let me
Oh,
let a good one go. They were active when I first got there, but did get in,
I hear you. And
adjust.
thanks for the correction.
Absolutely.
She's a true journalist. Did you
We,
see that? Did you hear that? She's a true journalist. She's like, listen, they're not going to claim that I
hey,
said that. So listen, let me quickly correct that. Thank you. Go ahead.
but the Alpha's new too, Miss Black and Gold. So I'll claim that. Shout out to the Alpha Side chapter and shout out to Alpha Iota chapter, which is the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated chapter there. But one thing that you said, what stands out about Lincoln
No,
University?
what were your favorite moments? What
Oh,
what for those of us who will never go, for those of
yeah.
us who don't always hear about Lincoln University, Missouri, especially it being one of our HBCUs, tell us what it's like and what did you like the most?
I like the fact that it's in the Midwest. I'll say that. And when you think HBCUs, most of the time your attention either goes down south to the AUC, Atlanta University Center, or up north to the East Coast, where the Howards Or I'll shout out, well, because I don't even think Morgan State gets a lot of love. So shout out to Morgan State and Bowie
Morgan,
State.
yes.
Come on. But shout out to Morgan State and Bowie State University, where we went to a lot of conferences at Bowie State. Lincoln, to me, by being in the Midwest, how it sits on a hill, it is so beautiful. And it sits up in the middle of Jefferson City, Missouri, which is the state capital of Missouri. So, like right in the heart of Missouri is where Lincoln University's campus is. Just what I saw, a lot of updates with the buildings. We still, when I got there, Tosin, had so many historic dorms that were not like lived in. They are now. But the history, the rich history that Lincoln shares is 6 hours away from Chicago, not far to get to. So you're away from home enough. You're away from your family and them, but you're still close enough if people want to come and visit. It's just my campus is nothing like the Lincoln campus. I had to even, go like this. The hills, they get you in shape because those hills, anybody that went to my school knows that those hills, you like, oh, where we going? So it's kind of one of those, you pack a different pair of shoes with you while you walking around campus, but you know how we did. We tipped around in heels. Feet was hurting. We didn't care because we was cute.
Listen.
I just loved what I loved at Lincoln, my time there too. The faculty and staff really cared about you. I never felt like a social security number. I always felt like Samantha. And man, it's just something about when you walk on that campus. I was blessed to do our opening convocation in September of 2023 for the new school year for the freshmen. And just going back on that campus, I felt like a blue tiger again. It's just when I think about it, we talk about homecoming. That's my first real home away from home. I'm Chicago, but I went to the Show Me State and they showed me what it was really like to be a part of an HBCU family in the Midwest. But I still got love for the Southern HBCUs. Even Langston is not that far from mine. And you got Harris-Stowe in St. Louis, and Langston is in Oklahoma, and the other one. So I still got a lot of love for them, but it's nothing like Lincoln. And one of my main goals, Tosin, when I went to Lincoln, was to put my school on the map. And that's what, thank you. So
you have, and you continue to do so. It's not just you have, you are an Emmy. How did we not start with that? You are an Emmy award-winning journalist, and you will continue to put Lincoln University, Missouri on the map, and that's beautiful. You have, I had to get to this ring. You have, you are a newlywed that is blissfully newlywed, and she talks about this quite a bit on her Instagram, as well as they have a show together. Talk to us a little about you and Mr. Lampkin. I want to know what is that like for you, because it's a big part of who you are. There's no visiting your site and not visiting your socials and not knowing that this is a very active part of who you are. So talk about that. In relation to, and I don't know if you were in a relationship while you were at Lincoln University, Missouri, but in relationship to, what advice would you give our young ones in college now that are stuck in their relationships?
If they're stuck and want one, I would say, to me, I do wish I would have taken relationships a little bit more seriously when I was in college. Because I'll say this, it's not like people didn't like me, but I was so focused on, I'm not trying to sound, but so I think college, and if you think back, Tosin, to a lot of the HBCU relationships, just go back. That is where a lot of people met each other. Absolutely. Those college sweethearts, especially in the Greek circles. And you look back at them, even if they weren't in the NPHC, the National Pan-Hellenic circles, they had their mate from college. So I would tell my younger sisters now that it is possible to have a relationship and do your career too. However, because you look back at it, and majority of us, we want children or wanted or may want them. It's a different thing with women. We have to really prioritize things because we have a clock. Men don't. I'll just say that. It's true. And so when we look at those different kinds of things, I was very, very, very much career focused, and I was dating a gentleman at the time. But I do know, once again, had I not gone through my trajectory in life with my career, moving to different cities and states, I'm working in TV news, and where I wound up working back here in Chicago. I had to go through all of that to meet Luther. And our meeting was a result of me working at a radio station when I came back from Vegas the second time. I lived there twice. That's a story. But meeting him, I had to go through what I went through to get to who I know God had for me. And that right there, I wouldn't trade it for anything. The way we met, and even doing what we do now, I really take love and relationships very seriously. And I do put out a call to my different women when they ask me. I said, just prioritize love as much as you do your career. It can be hard, but that's going on our podcast.
So believe it or not, and you're right. I'm going to tune in to when you have that on your podcast so that I can listen to it. But I have to go here for a hot second because
Okay.
you said something that I've heard a lot of elderly women even told me, Tosin, you're too focused on your career. Tosin, I need you to prioritize this and that and this.
Wow.
And they're not wrong and they're not right, because I think
Mhm.
everybody's journey is quite individual and quite different. So I should put that out there. But literally before we hit record with you, myself and my team were talking about a news story that we saw recently. And this will make you laugh. And I want your take on this. This
Okay.
is so going to make you laugh. And I don't want to misquote which news source I saw it on. It's either Time, it's either Newsweek, or it's either even BBC America. I'm not really sure which one it was. But there is newly a lady who is getting married to a hologram of a man. And it is,
Girl, I'm laughing already. Okay.
and if you listen to the reason why,
Mm-hmm.
it is borne out for her when you read her story. Her reason why is she prioritized relationships. She thought she would have found a man by now, and it hasn't happened. And instead of her being unhappy about it, listen, I'm not necessarily in agreement with the hologram choice. But what do you say to, because you said women need to prioritize a little bit differently, and you're not wrong, because
Mm-hmm.
here's the truth about us, especially for those of us who do want to start families. Biologically, we do have a clock. It's just that simple. But to those who've done all those things and still haven't gotten there, what do you say to them? Because you're a very inspirational person. What do you say to them?
Look at why you keep attracting who you keep attracting. Because even if you do prioritize love, one thing that we have a tendency to do, and I did it for a long time, stuck on a type.
Mm,
And a type that you feel like you should be with, or I deserve this type of man because I did XYZ, ABCDFG. I got my PhD, MBA, ABCDFG, HIJK. We got all them letters behind our name sometimes. And it's nothing wrong with that. And I'm not saying that I actually went viral for a clip that said we have our PhD, but all we have is a DLG and we don't have an MAN. So yeah, I did. I did. I said that it went viral for it, I think about a year and a half ago. And people were like, well, what are you saying? Don't get your degree? No, because I have one. I'm not saying do that. Don't do it. But also in that clip, I said, and we get upset when he chooses the girl from Wendy's because she was nice. We get upset about that kind of stuff. And I think what happens, Tosin, and it was happening to me. And I noticed that I didn't meet Luther until I was 40. But what I had to stop doing, I was single all of my 30s in situationships. I knew that I wanted somebody, but I kept attracting same man, different name, same suit. Is what I'll say, the same suit, same suit, different name, but the same man. And because he maybe had smelled like Bond number 9, you could smell it before he walked up. I kept attracting this certain kind of guy. So while you're prioritizing, try not to overlook who may be what you need, not necessarily what you feel like, what you feel. A lot of us women, we feel. We women, we're emotional. I feel a lot. I even notice when I say stuff, but I feel like, and when you start talking like that, you already have maybe ignored. Men are logical. And I'm like, well, I feel like versus I desire this. And this is what I
mm,
would like to have. So we have to change the way we speak. And also what we're attracting. So while you may be prioritizing, good, Make sure that you are not just attracting the same guy all over again. You know, the same man that he's a higher value man, but the thing with him is he knows he is. He knows he is. I'm just gonna use the name. I'm sorry if your name is Steve, but Steve knows that he's that guy. So Steve will keep attracting that, but you like, oh, Steve ain't met me yet. Yes, Steve met you. He met you, and he met everybody else too, and he can get everybody else. So don't overlook James. And James might be what you need. James might be in your friend zone that you kept him in forever. I didn't friend zone a lot of people, yes, but I almost friend zoned my husband. I almost did. Because I thought he was nice. He was all. You ever met these guys that you thought they were just nice? Oh, he's nice, but yeah, or he's doing too much. Versus the guy that we have to chase because he's not doing enough. So these are things that we have. Yeah, we've all been there.
Yes, we have.
I didn't mean to go to that, but I'm probably hitting some points with that because we have always. Yes, we've mentally chased a guy. Like, if you have to ask, where is this going with the man? Y'all ain't going nowhere because a man will let you know where y'all are going. We've always been there. Girl, I don't know where we stand. I'm going to ask him. If you got to ask him, he ain't it.
Samantha. Samantha, you and I need another episode.
Yes. Come on.
No, I'm not joking. You and I need another episode that has nothing to do with HBCUs because I'm like Tosin. I have so much to throw at you that has nothing to do with HBCUs. Has nothing to do with HBCUs, but everything to do with all the things that you just said. Lord, because literally as you were talking, I was thinking about the last season or the current-ish season of Married at First Sight. Like, I have so much to throw at. Okay, so, but we're not. So keep it on focus. Keep it on focus. Finish this sentence for me, Samantha. Because of my experience at my HBCU, I will not
feel deprived of a true college experience.
Can we lean into that for a hot second?
Yeah.
So, and I am guilty. The guilty part is, so I was not raised in the US, and so I didn't really have a conceptualization of what a college, especially an HBCU experience, should be. So I want every single current graduating high school senior, definitely every single current college freshman at an HBCU to listen to what Samantha Lampkin just said. She said that because of her HBCU experience, she will not feel deprived of a college experience. The reason why I want to lean into that, I've watched so many of our students go through college, but not go through college. And there is a difference. I said to a group of students not too long ago, and as a college educator, I know I'm going to be judged by this. You don't go to college to get a degree. It's secondary. I sincerely believe that you go to college, especially your first degree, you go to college to find yourself, to know yourself, and to experience life.
Yeah.
That's what you go to college for. And that's what you just said. You will never feel deprived of that experience because clearly you went through college as opposed to you just attended a college. So I wanted us to lean into that ever so slightly because I've never heard anybody say it that way, Samantha. You're the first to say it that way, but it is so important that those in college now understand, guys, make all your mistakes, do it all. Do it all now. Do it all.
Please.
Okay, because I listen.
You broke that down. I like how you broke that down, Tosin, because I think that college really it matured me. You don't go for your degree. It happens. It's a part of why you're there. But the whole, the homecomings, the all that. But again, just me learning about who I am and being proud of where I came from, being from Chicago, but also experiencing life outside of your four walls of your city. Because
That
you got
part.
the north, south, east, west. Man, just the experience. I really got a chance to start to get to know Samantha on the level that I'm not saying I wouldn't have gotten here in Chicago because it's where I'm from. But you need that experience. You need to go away somewhere else and see people that don't look like what you used to seeing every day. You know.
Absolutely, absolutely. Samantha, before we leave, you do a lot. Is there anything that I have not? We've got a lot that we could talk about. And like I said, you and I have to do this again sometime in the future where we just talk about everything else under God's green earth, because clearly we could do that. But is there anything that I have not brought up that you really want the audience to know? Bless the audience with something that I may not have thought of that you'd want to share.
I would say while you're at an HBCU, to my people, since we're really dwelling in on that, historically Black colleges and universities are what you make them. I think it's always good to have that experience once again because we are educations and institutions that are full of experiences. I made sure when I went there that I grabbed onto everything that was available to me. I even sought out things that weren't available
Mm,
to me. When I first got there, I used to go home every weekend until I met a woman who changed my mindset. Her name is Mrs. Benicia Williams. She was a teacher here in Chicago, but ended up relocating to Missouri because her
mm,
husband got a job down there. She became my advisor for Miss Lincoln University later on. Get to know the people. College, one thing that I think they teach now, Tosin, is networking, but make sure you really capitalize. Right, that
we
needs to
could
be
do
a whole.
better. We
I
could do
think so
better.
too.
We could do
I
better.
agree. I agree. And entrepreneurship. I think they're starting to teach that now because
Absolutely.
that's a career that needs to really start to be that should be a major as well. But it may be a class, but network, get to know the people that are around you because they really do become your net worth. Mrs. Williams was at my bridal shower. I still talk to her.
Mm.
And all of these people and so was Danielle, my sorority sister, was Miss Lincoln. And I just saw her at our conference. I still
Aw,
keep in touch with all of these people. A lot of people, even from different universities during my time, we still talk. Of
that's
course, social
wonderful.
media does help, but make sure you foster genuine relationships with these
Yes.
people. Genuine, not just surface. College will force you to have genuine relationships because y'all can't go nowhere. But but around to the student union and on their meal plan, So make sure that you really capitalize on your time and don't because
Yeah,
I know the alpha say it, but college days do swiftly pass. They go
they
like
do.
that. So make sure that you really capitalize on why you're there while you're there. Capitalize on why you're there while you're there.
Absolutely.
So
Samantha, end this episode for us. Leave our audience with either a parting word or phrase on why you love HBCUs.
I love HBCUs because it allowed me to do what I know my purpose was set out to do. It helped me to hone my purpose. So
Hmm.
I love HBCUs. Yes, it helped me to hone my purpose as a person. And like my grandmother, I will say this because she saw me go to school. She didn't see me get married, but she did meet my husband.
Oh,
Yes. So my grandmother was a driving force in my life, and something that she always told me was, if you're not a part of the solution, you're a part of the problem. And so instead of looking at all the problems in my life, right before I went to Lincoln University of Missouri, I said, what can I do to be a solution? Let me try to get me better. And while HBCUs, yes, they do have lots of issues like every institution does, not just HBCUs. They're highlighted because most of the time I think they're institutions of color, of HBCUs, if you will. I always focus on what you can do at your individual institution to become a solution to whatever problems may plague our HBCUs.
so Samantha loves HBCUs because it enabled her to always see the solution and not the problem.
Yep.
Samantha, thank you. And thank you to the audience for tuning in to I Love My HBCU question mark. I know it's impossible to get Samantha Lampkin, formerly Thomas, in a conversation and not enjoy it. So I've enjoyed this conversation, with alumna of Lincoln University, Missouri, Samantha Lampkin, and I hope those and those watching and those listening like this episode. It's impossible for you not to. I hope I've actually earned you subscribing to the podcast. Yours in HBCU love. See you next episode. Samantha, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
You've been listening to I Love My HBCU ? Let's keep the conversation going as we share our stories and encourage more practical support of HBCUs, whilst of course holding each other accountable. Don't forget to follow and subscribe for the latest episodes. Until next time, love and lift your HBCU.